सूत्रभाष्य कृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिनि व्योमवद् व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ओम शांति शांति शांति। श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि ओम तत्सत्. So we were doing the third sutra. What is the root cause of all our agony, our misery, all the disturbances that we have to pass through in the course of our lives, and how to get out of it? Today is the section that we're going to do. These are different steps of sadhana. Now we want to get out of it. And in the last sutra, he mentions Kaladinam Tattvanam Aviveko Maya. So, Jnanam Bandhaha, inappropriate, inaccurate, faulty, delusional, misleading understanding or knowledge is the cause of our agony. Having explained that, the author then says, what is this bondage? What is this Jnana Rupaka Bandha? So he says, look here, at the root of this jnana is aviveka, inability to distinguish, inability to have proper analysis. So you may have a set of conclusions, but these conclusions are not going to help because we are essentially trapped in a process of inappropriate analysis. Therefore, that results in inadequate, imperfect understanding. So, Kaladinam Tattvanam Aviveko Maya. Having said that, now we want to start the return journey to our innermost truth, our Swarupa. Therefore, this next sutra is saying, if that is the case, so how to get out of this bondage? Maya Bandha. The bondage is a result of Maya. And what is Maya? Maya is not an independent power. It's essentially a form of inadequate or non-discrimination or faulty analysis. We have understood it. Therefore, the fourth sutra says, Sarire Sangharaha Kalanam. Sarir mein kalaon ka sanghar, yani lay. See, the details have to be eschewed out of our consciousness. We are now making the return journey. And therefore, you see, whenever we sit in meditation, there are different ways in which we do it. But the basic beginning is that how to sort of remove the clutter, how to return to unity. And this is different in different traditions. Like in Vedanta, Vicharatmaka, there are different upasanas. Bhagavad Gita also mentions lots of upasanas. Here, he's saying how this can happen. Sarire Stule Shukshmi Pareva. You have Sthula Sarira, the Annamaya Kosha Shukshma Sarira, and you have the Para Sarira, you can call it the Karana Sarira, or the subtlest, Stula, Shukshma, and Parasarira. Pareva, Kalanam Tattva Bhaganam Prithivyadi Sivanta Tattwana. So there are these 36 tattvas in the Trika Darshana, 36 tattvas in the Sankhya Darsana. We have studied about 25 tattvas, organizing principles of reality. What are these organizing principles of reality? In Sankhya, for example, it would be Purusha, Prakriti, and then Mahatattva, and you have Mahatattva and Buddhi, Ahankara, and below that, all these 16 elements are there below. So these are 7 elements, Pancha Tanamatras, and Ahankara, and a Buddhi, and Prakriti, and Mahatattva. In the top, you have Purusha, and below that, you have the 5 Jnanendriyas and Karmendriyas, right? And the Pancha Bhutas, Pancha Pranas, and Pancha Bhutas, all that would follow. They are there at the bottom. So here what he's saying is that Mahabhutatmake Stule Shukshmi Puryashtakatmani, you will go there. So first he's saying Sarire Stule Shukshmi Pareva Kalanam Tattva Bhaganam Prithivyadi Sivanta Tattvanam. Starting with Prithivi, which should be there at the bottom. because these are the Panchabhutas would be there at the bottom, starting there. Swakarani. So, like for example, we have a golden necklace. What are the cause of this golden necklace? Is actually gold. That is the material cause. Of course, there is a nimitta karana or an efficient cause. Who is that? The goldsmith, the artisan who would carve out a necklace, a beautiful necklace, out of some grams of gold. Now he's saying karya has to be dissolved in the karana. That means you'll melt that necklace. Then what remains? You'll have a golden ball. You'll have a mass of gold at the bottom. So it has returned to its causal form. Similarly, all the thoughts and all the activities and inclinations and everything, we have to return to the consciousness because of some aviveka, an inappropriate projection of that consciousness has created the appearance of this reality as fundamentally real. So it's not fundamentally real. It is not ultimately real. Yeah, phenomenally real. So we want to return to the pure consciousness. Then what you have to do? The karya, the consequences, the outcomes, the manifestations, the explicit projections of the formations, we would dissolve them in the karana. Swakarane laya bhavanaya. So how do you melt? Do you destroy the sansara? Would you break your hands and legs? No. There are meditations. So you would imagine as if you are all dissolving them. So this process is a dhyana marga here. And dhyana is not considered to be a very superior thing, because in Saktopaya, there you are moving towards unity consciousness. That is superior to this dhyana. This is just collecting yourself, bringing together all the disparate elements in our consciousness in their manifest form, in the projected form. That is what they are saying. Swakarane laya bhavanaya sanghare. Then you dissolve dhyatebhya iti sheshaha. This is the vritti of the sutra. Sarire sangharaha kalana. All these kala tattvas, so everything that you see, you have to dissolve it in your own body. Why are they mentioning this word body? You are mentioning sthula sarira. By sthula sarira, we refer to the sarira as sthula sarira. And how can you dissolve everything in this physical seas? No, that is not the purpose. The purpose is saying is that whatever sadhana you want to do, you would be doing in the physical and mental frame, that is framework in which we are present. We are pure consciousness, but we are present, we are existing, we are functional within a physical and psychological body-mind complex. This complex is what he is referring to as sarira, because then you are returning, you're using this platform in order to retrieve or recover your lost identification, your awareness of your pure self. So you'd be using this frame in that sense it's mentioned. Now let's look at one of the most interesting, the easier commentaries, which sums up also the Kshemaraja in a Siva Sutra Vimarshini. It summarizes all. He says, Atasya Maya Bandha Nibritye Upaya Maha. Now, how to do Maya Bandha Nibritti means how to remove the Maya Bandha. That is the doubt. There is a challenge. So, how do you do it? That is explaining. I will tell you the method. What is it? Sarire Sangharaha Kalana. So, all these kalas and everything that we are discussing, you have to, the realities which sort of appear as diverse and dual and conflictual and contradictions, we have to reduce them. You have to sort of eschew them, pull them back. Like we have studied in physics, you have black holes, whatever goes there, they get pulled into them, sucked into them, and they vanish. It's a high energy field. Similarly, in meditation, you're sort of pulling all that around you and within you into that pure consciousness through meditation. That is what it's mentioning. Mahabhutatmakam puryashtakam samanantam yat sthulam shukshma param deha vartate. Mahabhutatmakam, Mahabhuta. So you have this Pancha Tanmatras and you have this Sthula Bhutas. So out of this Sthula Bhuta, this particular Annamaya Kosha is created. Puryashtakam. So Mahabhuta means you'll refer here the Sukshma Bhutas. So Puryashtaka is the Karana Sarira. We have studied that yesterday. So Pancha Tanmatras, Mana Buddhi, Ahankara. These 8 are the Sukshma Sarira in Trikadarshana. That is Sukshma Sarira. Samanandam Yat Sthulam. And then that when we are doing creation, then what happens is that the subtlest thing in Trikadarshana, the word for the ultimate pure consciousness is actually Shunya. That Shunya is like Paramashiva Tattva without any name and form. And that when there is a Unmana Bhava, it expresses itself, becomes aware of itself. So you have both what? You have Prakasha and Vimarsha. Prakasha is the Shiva Tattva, Vimarsha is the Sakti Tattva. We have discussed that earlier. It's a beautiful way to express it. Who is Parvati? Who is Ma Bhavani or Kali? Who is she? Who is this Shakti? They would say it's self-awareness of Shiva. That is Bimarsha, self-reflective consciousness. That is what is Bimarsha Shakti. And Prakasa Shakti is the light of consciousness. Now, if a person is aware he's lying on his bed, until that person becomes aware, he cannot do anything. He's just going to be there. Therefore, he's saying this Prakasha and Vimarsha, both of them are there in that whole arena or that vista, on ending vista called Shunya. Okay, so that Unmana Bhava means expansion, and then the whole sansara follows from there. Now, if you return, Samananta means where everything, the Layavastha happens, everything gets dissolved. That is referring to Samananta Yat Sthulam Shukshmam Param Deham. The Karana Sarira, the Sthula Sarira, the Sukshma Sarira in Vedanta, they all get dissolved. Where? They get all dissolved in Ishvara, in Mahaprakriti, out of which they have all are born. They'll go back there. Similarly, he's saying, the Sthulam Shukshma Param Deham Vartate. So, you see, this whole gamut of manifestations of who we are. We have a physical form, we have a subtle form, and we have a causal form. And all that will get sort of be reduced to that Mahashunya at the bottom. He's saying, Teshu Khityadi Shivanta Tattva Rupaha, Teshu in them. So starting with Prithvi and ending with Parama Shiva Tattva, Rupaha Bhagaha Vidyante, whatever they exist, Teshang of them, Kalatmaka Bhava Bhaganam Karyanam Sanhara. So you see, in the 36 tattvas, it's a beautiful thing. In the 36 tattvas, there are some which are actually sort of the root cause of all our problems. There are Suddha tattvas and there are Asuddha tattvas also. Okay? So, you have, what are the Suddha? There are 5 Suddha tattvas in Trikadarshana. And what is this? I would sort of enumerate all 36. You have Shiva and a Shakti. Parama Shiva, there is no Shiva, no Shakti. You know that pure consciousness, Shunya. No Shiva. They are both there present. Shiva, Shakti. Then below that, you have Sada Shiva. It's called also the Mantra Maheshwara. Sada Shiva, and below that, Ishwara Tattva. Okay? So Shiva, Shakti, Sada Shiva, Ishwara. Then you have Suddha Vidya or Sadvidya. So these are the 5 elements. These are all Suddha Tattvas. Asuddha starts from there. So Aveda is Shiva and Shakti. There is no difference between Shiva and Shakti. That is Aveda Bhumi. Perfect non-dual existence. Below that, Veda, duality, non-duality with elements of duality. What are these? Sada Shiva, right? What they refer to as Mantra Maheshwara, Ishwara Tattva, and a Suddha Vidya. These 3 elements are Veda, Vedatmaka, Bhumi. Non-duality and duality kind of coexisting. And then you have the dual manifestation projection of this non-dual principle called Shiva Shakti. And what are they? Starting with these Bheda Bhumika, what are these? Maya, Kala, Vidya. So Maya is that aviveka, and kalanam aviveka, that is what is Maya. So Maya, and then Vidya, Raga, Kala. What Vidya? The Jnana Sakti has become Vidya, restricted to a few domains. Raga similarly, specific attractions. Kala, Niyati, Purusha, Prakriti. Starting with Purusha, Prakriti, rest will follow like Sankhya. Purusha, Prakriti. So you see, the Purusha here is at the 12th position. The Sankhya Purusha is the ultimate. Here, the Purusha here is at the 12th position. It's at the human level. So Purusha, Prakriti, Buddhi, Ahankara, Mana. Then you have Sotra, Tvak, Chakshu, Jiva, Ghrana. These are the 5 Jnanendriyas. Bakpani, Pada, Payu, Upastha. These are the 5 Karmendriyas. And a Sabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha. These are the 5 Tanmatras. Sankhya people put them in the top. They are putting it here. Pancha Mahabhutas. And then the Sthula Bhutas. The Sukshma Bhutas and Sthula Bhutas are put below the 10 numbers. Akasa, Vayu, then Teja. You see Akasa Tattva, then Vayu Tattva, then Teja Tattva, then Jala Tattva, and then Prithvi Tattva. So, Salila Prithvi. These are the 36. Starting with Prithvi, and we go up. That is called Arohanatmaka. And when creation starts, there's Abarohana. There is a descent of the divine principle into projected realities. And when there is ascent, that means we are returning, we are actually removing details. You must be doing, like when we were students, like we are studying a lot of papers and this and that. As you move forward, you reduce your activities, you focus on one thing. Here, similarly, ultimately, we will be returning to that pure consciousness. So, having read these lines, let's return to now this commentary. So, he's saying, Sukshma Stula Paradehe Vartante Teshu Kshityadi Sivanta Tattva Rupaha Bhaga Vidyante Tesam Kalatmaka Bhaganam Karyanam Sanghara. Kalatmaka Bhavanam. Karya Rupa Bhavanam, the manifestations which are in the form of consequences of products, which are Vikritis. Okay? So it's not about the 5 Sudha Tattvas. Bhaganam, Karyanam Sanghara. What is that Sanghara? How to destroy them? Sambhid Ekagri Sadbhavo Nije Karani. So is that pure consciousness, Sambhid, with the fire of that enlightenment, and Tattva Rupa. Then what you have? Bhavo, Nije Karane, the self, the cause of all this. Nija is this self. Karane, Laya Bhavana Dvara. Then you are melting them through a process of meditation. Yatha is explaining, look, we will also take you to Vedanta school. Similar ideas are there. So they are, in a way, the commentator is reducing authoritative justification for whatever he's saying from the Upanishadic statements. What is the Upanishadic statement? Yatha Upanishad tasmad va etasmad atmanah akasha sambhutah. From that Atma, from that Brahman, this Akasa was first born. It was created. Akasad Vayuhu. So from that Akasa, Vayu was created. And then Vayur Agnihi. From Vayu, Agni was created. Okay? And then Agnir Apaha. From fire was water born. And Adhyaha Prithivi. From that Jala Tattva, from that Adhya means from water, the earth was born. Prithivyaha Purushaha. Purusha Eva Idam Sarvam. And from Prithvi, the Purusha human beings are created, because we start having Arna, and then we have physical seeds, and Purusha Eva Idam Sarvam. All this is Purusha. This Vyasti Rupa, this disconnected, isolated microsm that we see as an individual, is essentially one which is abstracted, extracted, has descended from that Param Brahma through this process of creation. That is what is hinted here. And therefore, he's saying, how do you do? When pralaya happens, what is going to happen? So, as per the Shastras, they say that the Prithvi will be dissolved in the Jala Tattva. So, the earth will be submerged in water. They're talking about global warming and this and that, but I'm not trying to draw parallels. The Shastra says this. The Prithvi Tattva will be dissolved in Jala Tattva. The Tala Tattva will get dissolved in the Agni Tattva. So you had a hot gaseous ball out of which then we had ices, and then you had jelly and stuff like that, then the earth and the plants and other lives manifested. It's by evolution. So it will be in a reverse process. And then this fire tattva or Agni tattva will get dissolved, will get transformed back into the air form. And that air form will get dissolved in the space form or Akasha form. That's what he's saying. Iti anukramam yatha swakaranam utpadyante. So they will go and the cause again reappears, which was hidden in the effect. It will reappear, like gold reappears when the necklace is melted down. Tatha bhinna kramam tatvanam. Similarly here in Trikadarshana, all these tattvas, the 36 one, Kityadi Siva Paryantanam, Aroha Kramena is a process of ascension, is a process of going to subtler and less visible, more experienced, but maybe becomes more and more subtler. And you are traveling now through meditation. Ultimately, in the Sambhavopaya, you will be doing vichara. In Shaktopaya, we'll do meditation with some vichara, and ultimately vichara. But right now, we are trying to make the body capable of going to that higher level. This is Arnavopaya Sadhana, and he's saying that this is a process of meditation. Aroha kramena swakarena bilayo bhabyante. So you would, if what do you call it, that you will create this effect, you will in a way cause this to happen, that you will be ascending to the higher level of your self-awareness. Sariradi chintana yuktya. So you'll say, where from this body has come from the tanmatras and where from them came. So you're sort of having a return journey through meditation. You would be doing, basically, I tell you, this is dhyana. There's not much of vichara. You will just fantasize. You will just imagine this happening. Like once Thakur had mentioned, and there is a beautiful book by the Ramakrishna Mission called Meditation, very short and a lot of essays there inside, a few very good essays, where they mention, how do you do Kundalini? He said, no, you just imagine. You sit tight in 90 degrees and erect on a chair, and then you start imagining that this is your Muladhara chakra, and there is a 3.5 coiled, the snake, and then how the energy level is going, and the snake is sort of raising its hood and is climbing through your Sushumna, through your spinal cord, is moving up. Imagine and cross through imagine all these chakras. And because the Shastras tell you what is the, these Swadhisthana chakra, the Muladhara chakra, how many petals, how it should look, what are the chakra, what is the yantra like. They tell you all that. So you just have to imagine. Dhyana is all about imagination. So it's a kind of manipulation of your consciousness. In order to dissolve the mind, you are taking help of a few imaginary forms like the chakras and all, and they exist in a subtle form. So you're just trying to feel them, and we move forward. And then we'll reach this, here also you have the Anahata and the Vishuddhi chakra and the Agya chakra. There'll be a lot of discussion how to do the meditation in this process. Sariradi chintana yuktya dhyatavyaha. So you will do meditation. Arthat, so what does it mean? Bhuvana tattva kala mantra pada varna rupa yo vachya vachaka rupa adva. So you have sad adva. Adva means marga. So in Kashmiri Saivism, they have a notion of sad adva. Adva means marga. So this meditation, I'll try to be very brief because this is basically technical detail. So you have, whenever we say anything, you have Varna. Varna is what? You have those alphabets. And we have already done that. So how these are all Varna Matrikas. Jnanam Bandhaha. But Jnana is born out of what? With what? They are born with the help of Varna Matrikas. You have to understand this whole secret occult science of the Varnas. With Varnas, we create padas, words, with which we construct sentences. It's called krama, or you can call it mantra. And then this whole reality, so you have vachaka. These are external objective sounds. These are vachaka. So you say a telephone. A telephone is a word. And then there are certain letters, like we say vachaka, this is a word. referring to some artha, that is vachya. So at the bottom, you have the external objective reality is captured in 3 words called varna, pada, krama, or mantra. 3 words. Then at the level of vachya, at the level of artha, the reference, whatever is signified, whatever is referred to, they are mentioning at that level. You have that kala, tattva, and a bhuvana. Kala is one word that we have discussed already, and all these 36 tattvas and bhuvana, all this manifest reality, this whole complex. So there is a kind of correspondence also. The varna and the pada and the mantras. So through a process of meditation, there's a lot of literature on that and what it involves. I'm just touching upon it for lack of time. And when we go there, it'll again come. So we will be meditating on them in more detail. So he says, so Bhuvana Tattva Kala in a reverse order. Bhuvana, then Tattva, then a Kala, then Mantra, Pada, Varna. You see, we're going in a reverse order. Mantra will get dissolved in Pada, Pada in Varna. Rupa, Yo Vachya Vachaka, Rupa Atva. These are Vachya and Vachaka. What is signified and what is the sign? Rupa Atva, Sabdarthamayaha, Tasya Advanaha. Of these paths, which are Sabdarthmaka with the word sound that you announced, that you mentioned, Sthula, Sthula, Sthula and Asthula, Sthula and Shukshma, Sthula, Sthula, Parastitya Kramena, Samastam, Paridrishyamanam, Namarupatmangam Vishwam Chintaye. So you'd meditate. This whole samsara is like this. You see, we have already dealt with it in a few earlier sutras. This whole mystery of this world starts with we talking about it or thinking about it. We cannot either think about this reality or talk about this reality without the help of language. You know, the French structuralists, they say to have a language is to have a world. So language is very important. But long before, 1,000 years before, the Kashmiri Saivism philosophers had already captured that aspect, that these words, the language, the signs of his own is very important. So, of course, nobody pays attention to that aspect. It's another matter. The French linguist, Saussure, the great guy, the father of French structuralism, he was actually a professor of Sanskrit in Switzerland all of his life. But he never mentioned that he's writing about linguistics because he was maybe influenced by Sanskrit grammar and the structure and the logic and the debate on philosophy of language in India. But he never mentioned any debt that he's influenced by it. But later day philosophers see, I mean, there is an influence, even though it's not admitted. Coming back to our discussion. So what you have is that you meditate on this whole samsara is like this, and you see you're trying to nullify the impact of sounds. When unconsciously you're using sounds, we're using words. We are using language. We are describing the world. When you are consciously using sounds, we are doing chanting of mantras. Remember, the same sound, same words are there. One is like, for example, somebody blabbers out something and somebody speaks something with the intent, is very focused. The impacts are different. They are same words. Similarly, the mantra is using the same words in order to pull back our external orientation into ourselves and to ascend to a higher plane of meditation. That is the sadhana is mentioning. And we will go, because Anamopaya, we have basically touched upon what are the basic aspects. We'll touch upon that. So, yavat ante tatreva manolaya bhaved. How long I have to do it? He's saying until the mind falls. Use the mind to ensure that the mind falls silent. The Buddhists say the same thing. The Patanjali yoga experts say the same thing. But the methods they suggest are different from each other. Manolaya bhaved. Evamcha. So, for example, in Vedanta, what are the ultimate sadhana? You will have mano nigraha and indriya nigraha. Both you will do. The external and internal equanimity you will practice. But that is not fundamentally reliable Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan has mentioned. You have to ensure the root cause of these disturbances in the mind. And the root cause of these disturbances is Vasana, the inclinations, the sanskaras. So you have to remove that. So Manonasha and Vasana Laya or Vasana Khaya. That is the ultimate goal. And how do you do it? Two methods. One is through Vichara. The other one, the Vedantic method, Vichara. But the Vishishta Vedanta, the Kashmir Saivism and all, they'll mention why not also Upasana. So you do Upasana to stabilize the mind, have unity of concentration, and then you do a lot of Vichara to get rid of, in Vedanta, what is called Asambhavana and Viparita Bhavana. All that you will Sansaya, Asambhavana and Viparita Bhavana. Doubts, how is this possible? And maybe you will think in a different way, Viparita Bhavana. You remove Sansaya, Asambhavana and Viparita Bhavana. You will remove all that with Shravana, Manana and Nididhyasana. They would mention their methods. Here he's saying that you will Manolaya Bhave, means all Vikalpatanga vrittis of the mind. Maybe this is right, that is right. You have this Subhasuva Vasanatmaga, Kriya Vasana. I will do this, I'll do this karma, I will do that. You're returning, you're losing interest. Evam cha Dakshina Padangustat Uthapitena. So from this is a very interesting thing. Now comes the whole tantric process of meditation. Saying Dakshina Padangustat. So you look at the thumb in the right foot. Angustat Uthapitena Kalagni Rudnena Atmiyam Sariram Eva Gugulam. So you're doing meditation. That is a tantric prakriya is mentioned. So you sit in that position to meditate. You want to do Manolaya. You have to get rid of your mind. How do you meditate? He's even giving a secret mantra here. You are burning your body. You are burning your Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, Vijnanamaya Kosha, Anandamaya Kosha, everything. With what? They are using a word called Kalagni Rudra. Kalagni Rudra is a tattva, is a principle of that fire, which, for example, Bhagavad Gita says, the Jnanagni burns down everything. The Kalagni is like that, a powerful meditative energy. And he's saying what? He's saying, Om Ra Kya Ra Ya Tanum Dahayami Namaha. So with this mantra, you will do meditation. I'm burning down everything. All these alphabets, what do they stand for? We will look at them in detail. Iti mantrasya ucharanam kritya. And these are secret things. The commentator writes. We honestly, we need years of practice. And we need also the guidance of somebody who has been doing it meticulously with the Guru Parampara. In the Vedantic tradition, you can philosophically discuss what they are saying. But unless we actually sit and do them, the Upalabdhi will be largely subjective, intellectual. They will not be transformative. When we do that, that's going to happen. So he's mentioning a mantra. So, Deha Dahadi. So burning as if you're Annamaya Kosha. Chintana Yoga Yuktya. So you do that kind of yoga sadhana, Yuktya. When you do that, Atma Bhavanaya Dagdham Vibhavayet. So you'll meditate. This to have a everyday life. So it's imagine you have a trauma. This kind of a mind game works. You can try that. So you have a trauma, or you have a problem, or you have a past memory which is troubling you, right? So how do you do it? With this help of this kind of a meditation technique, you can very well sit in a meditative posture and you'll say, okay, now I'm burning down that trauma. You do whatever prashita if you have done something wrong, but if you have done some humiliation, some loss, some kind of a setback which is chasing you, coming back, like some students commit suicide and stuff like that. To get rid of that, very sincere meditation with a surrender to Lord Shiva, and you sit, it's kind of biting you again and again, It's a biting trauma, intrusive thoughts, what they call PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. So all these problems, all of us have in Like, for example, you have this corona, a lot of dear ones left. We are left, but they left this place. So you may have a sense of guilt and agony when you have this kind of catastrophes coming and invading us without our being ready to face them. It's quite possible that you have emotional or intellectual or some kind of negative energy or darkness in you. When we do this meditation, he's saying that you burn down everything. You have to go beyond all that. At the conscious plane, silencing the body, sitting quietly, Stiram Sukham Asana is much easier than dealing with the subconscious mind, where there are a lot of past sanskaras which might suddenly emerge and disturb us. Shrima Pondicherry used to always advise that sadhakas need to maintain their diaries and note down their dreams, because they hold you the mirror regarding your subconscious and how the subconscious is working. So it's very important to sort of remember and then make sense of these dreams, because that is the hardest part of sadhana. Getting rid of what Carl Jung would say the shadow self, or what somebody will say the subconscious mind, or a Vedantist will say that the vasanas, the impressions, not of just one birth, but millions of births, because we are not here for the first time. So, therefore, he's saying, Asya Chinmaya Murtiman Agnihi Prakasate. And that kind of a person who is there to meditate like this, Chinmaya, Chaitanyamaya. Chinmaya means Chitmaya, pure consciousness. Chinmaya Murtiman Agnihi Prakashate. That fire of enlightenment now becomes expressed, becomes visible. Yadyuktam Mahamanjayam is mentioning, Seso Malasyo Naso Daha Etasya Vasano Chedaha. Whatever impurities remain in a sadhaka, they call it Agyana Lesha in Advaita Vedanta. One person has read all the Vedanta texts and he has understood everything. He's Jivana Mukta, but he may still have agony, feelings of love, feelings of anger. Why? They say there will be some Agyana Lesha. Yesterday we have discussed it, right? You have the Avarnatmak Agyana is gone, but the Vikshepa Sakti of Agyana is still doing its work. Like your sleep is broken, the nightmare you are having is gone, but the effect is still there. You're sweating, you have maybe your high heartbeats, right? You have some anxiety, some fear. There's no nightmare anymore. You are in your sense, you are sitting on your bed, but you're suffering the impact of something which you experience. Similarly, the Jivana Mukta, after leaving Sansara, even if he goes there to a level of new existence, new realization, the old sanskaras may follow him. That's what some people refer to as prarabdha, meaningless for a jnani, but there will be an appearance of some past sanskaras still influencing in life. He's saying, that is what he's mentioning, that finally, whatever that seso mala sesa, that means whatever remaining impurities, naso daha etasya vasano chedaha, the sanskaras will be removed. You uproot them, you completely destroy them. Aplavanam tanunam jnana sudha sake nirmeda suddhi. And that purity is born out of what? Aplavanam tanunam. All these tattvas and kalas and everything, all your consciousness and everything, you have jnana sudha. Look here. The light of consciousness, it's kind of washed down, it's flushed with the brilliant luminosity of self-awareness. A little child was scared of his shadow, thinking the shadow is chasing it. You must have seen all of us were scared of our shadows at some point of our lives. And then what happens is the same boy teaches another kid after a couple of years, saying, look here, the shadow is chasing you. He's no more scared of it. What removed that fear? All that removed is fear that the shadow has no life of his own. That realization, that light of awareness, that light of understanding, that jnana is the shield against any anxiety and fear. And that is what he's saying. Jnana sudha sakhe Nirmita Suddhi, that purity is now born out of this flushing of our consciousness through this meditation. And then he's saying, Evam eva kalagni rudrena sarirascha sarirastam bahyastam cha samagram vishwam. Whatever is there in the body, whatever is there outside, Kalagni Rudrena, that light of that consciousness, Kalagni Rudra. There is, by the way, one Upanishad called Kalagni Rudra Upanishad. It's about Tripundi, that you have these three lines. And what is the importance of it? And one is Rig Veda, the other Veda, Sham Veda. And the importance of Uma, Onkara. There is some secrets discussed there, very short Upanishad, one of the smallest Upanishads. So he's saying here is different. He says Kalagni Rudrena Sarirastam Bahyastam. So Samagram Vishwam Vikalapato Plushtam Vivavya. So you wash them all. Okay, submerge them in the pure consciousness. Then what happens? Samahita Chittasya Sadhakasya. The mind of the sadhaka is now Samahita Chitta. Is in a state of equanimity. And then what happens? Aparimita Pramatra Shiva Rupata Prakasate. The Sarvagya becomes a limited Pramata. Pramata is somebody who knows. Prama is Jnana. Pramana is process of knowing. Pramata is somebody who knows. The agent, the knower. These knower is actually Sarvagya. The knower is knower of certain things outside. The Sarvagya is just self-aware. That Vimarsha Shakti. Aham idam, both. Aha. Aham and idam, both are that aha. That we had discussed that earlier. Aham. So he's saying, plus vibhavya aparimita pramatru shiva rupata prakasate. That becomes luminous and that becomes explicit, expresses itself. So essentially, it's a return journey, and we are discussing what are the methods. Now, there are a couple of sentences in the Siva Sutra Vimarshani. For example, there is this, which is mentioned here in the Siva Sutra Vimarshani, important sentence. Now, Mahabhutatmake Stule Shukshme Puryashtakatmani Muladi Samanante Sarire Yoginaha Pare. So there is one thing which is Siva Sutra Bhartika. Okay? So he's saying Mahabhutatmake, we have already done that sentence, and then the Siva Sutra Vimarshani says Mahabhutatmakam Puryashtaka Rupam Samanantam Yat Stulam Shukshmam Param Shariram. All that you will be dissolving. We have also done that in that elaborate summarizing commentary where he takes from different tikakaras. What is this sarira is explaining in the body? Mahabhutatmangam puryashtakam samanam jastulam shukshmam param sariram kala prithivyati sivanta tattvarupaha kalavagaha. What is this body he's mentioning? That the stula, shukshma is not referring to the physical seed. It's the whole gamut of manifestations. What we describe is us because we identified with them. But actually, we're just pure consciousness. So we have to remove this clutter to return to that pure consciousness. Sanghara, we know it's not about killing, it's converting the effect to the causal form. The manifest returns to the unmanifest energy, the consciousness, out of which this has emerged. Bhuvanadvadi rupena chintayet kramashoakhilam stula shukshma parastitya yavad ante manolayaha. This is from Vijnana Bhairava Tantra. This is a very powerful text on meditation. So he's saying this is how you have to return there. Okay? Now, there is one interesting thing which is mentioned here, as I was mentioning, that dhyana here is not the subtlest form of sadhana. It's just stula sadhana. Why? It's just imagination. We are sitting tight in asana, and then we'll do certain imaginations. Then you have these different chakras. You have this Muladhara chakra and Swadhisthana and Manipura and Anahata, Vishuddhi, and then Agnya chakra and Sahasrara. We are trying to ascend in this whole mind-body complex, sitting and meditating on this subtle form. Then at the next one, you have the Saktopaya, whereas you have end of the day in the Saktopaya, Chitta Sambodha Lakshanatmaka. That is what is Shaktopaya. So you have dualities, you are doing sadhana, but not this kind of thing sadhana. It's not Pasu sadhana. It's a little Mishrita sadhana, where you are trying to reconnect, recover. So you are doing upasanas, you are doing mantra sadhanas. Here also you will have, but that is a superior thing. There is where is the main sadhana. And then you will go to the Sambhavopaya, which is purely at the level of Abhedatmaka Bhumi, and it's pure consciousness and analysis. When your body-mind complex is all ready, the impurities are gone, and we are ready for a high level of meditation. And again, he mentions that the Sadguru appears, Lord Shiva appears, the grace of God, and then, he identifies himself with Paramashiva Tattva. Now, the most important thing is that in the first initial class, if you remember, we had discussed a little about this Anavopaya. This is the summary of this whole chapter. We are starting the sadhana, but we should not forget those 5 elements. I will touch upon them before we close. So, this sutra is like this: Uchara Karana Dhyana Varna Sthana Prakalpanaihi Yo Bhavesa Samavesha Samyag Anava Uchyate. What is this Anava Samavesha? What is this Anava Samadhi? Anu is that you have that macrocosm that you're sitting and you're meditating, but what is it? The Shiva Tattva has become Anu. The Shiva has become Pashu. Then what is this? He's saying, look here, there are 5 aspects to it. One is Uchara. We will remind ourselves about what we had discussed earlier. Uchara, Karana, Dhyana, Varna, and then Sthana Kalpana. These are the 5 words. Uchara, and then Karana, then a Varna, Dhyana, Sthana, Kalpana. These are the 5 elements. Yo Bhavesa Samavesha, that Samavesha which happens through these 5 steps is called the Anabhupaya. Now I'm just trying to sort of go back and remind ourselves. So Uchar is sort of manipulation working with this Thula Prana. Uchara. So how do you have this Pranochara? So you have this and ha. You do this ucharana with different kind of mantras. Okay. And then Karana would be about the physical posturing and mudras. You remember what is Khechari Mudra? We had studied at length in the previous chapter. So there was a lot of discussion on how to sit in a posture, and you twist your tongue and you pull it down, and then there's some droplets fall, and then there's a feeling of sweetness in your mouth. You're saying, no, that's not Khechari Mudra. What is that Khechari Mudra? When you are established in your consciousness, Khe Charatiti Khechari. Kha is Akash. So in that vast universe, that supreme, vast, infinite consciousness, when your mind stabilizes there, that is the Khechari Mudra. Here Mudra would be physical mudras maybe. But in the Shaktopaya, you're going to the next level. Shambhavopaya, you're beyond all mudras. That is what he mentioned, yeah. That Uchara and Karana is how to sort of move and manipulate your physical seat, the Annamaya Kosha. You sit in lotus posture, like you do dhyana, you do yoga nidra, you do a lot of tricks like with the body to pacify it, to make it meditative. So that is what is all about Karana. And dhyana would be like Saguna Upasana, meditating on one pointed consciousness. Then Varna, that working on the Sukshma Prana. So let's look at them a little. You are doing this as a Parimita Pramata, limited, restricted person and an essence. You are doing sadhana. We haven't gone to that level. So this is the foundation, and this is very important. And so, for example, Sthana Kalpana. So you meditate on the Sarira, the chakras, the nadis, and all that. Okay. And then he's also mentioning Ghata Sthapana, like in the Navaratris going on, you do mandala, you do yantras, and go to a temple, you sit a murti and do abhishekam, right? And chitra and all that. So all this will come under the Sthana Kalpana. Then also the Prana Sakti, you have these, how to sort of, you remember in Bhagavad Gita 6th chapter. So doing pranayama, you are sacrificing manas and your thoughts in your pranayama in order to ascend to a higher plane. That's what is, remember. So the Kriya Sakti will be dissolved in the Jnana Sakti. Jnana Sakti will be dissolved in the Ichha Sakti. So this is how we are returning. And then Ghatastapana, Mandala Nirmana Murti, all these are aspects of it. And then the dissolution of this whole, these tattvas would be like prana. What are the pancha pranas are there? And then you have Deha, Stula, and Shukshma. And you have the Bahya Karanas. Bahya will be Mana, Jnanendriyas, and Karmendriyas. All these we have to basically, these are all Bhedatmaka, Sthana Kalpana. We will be making use of them to unite our consciousness. You cannot make use of consciousness to reach. Remember, the manipulation starts. It's very funny. These are products of consciousness. But in order to return, we are making use of these details which have emerged out of that pure consciousness to return there. Uchara would be, you have pranatmaka and chidatmaka. Pranatmaka is pancha pranatmaka uchara. And chidatmaka is where you have chit pradhana and a vimarsha pradhana, the self-awareness aspect and the light of consciousness aspect. There is uchara. And what do you mean by varna here? Varna is pranatmaka uchara. Then you have that, that anahata nada. You remember that her and her. We had these Bandhamatrikas, we had done discussions there. So it all happens in the Anahata Chakra. So from there, so this is the Srishti Vija. This is the seed of this whole creation. So you are meditating on that. And then you have the Arnava Samavesha. So what we have already discussion, this is what he's saying. Arnava Samavesha Uchara Karanasthana Varnasthana Prakalpanehi Yo Bhavesa Samavesha Samyak Arnava Uchyate. Whereas if we go to the next level, if you remember, in the Sakta Samavesha, you would say Uchara Rahitam Vastu Chetasaiva Vichintayan. Now Uchara Rahita he mentioned. The external instruments of our existence, we are not going to make use of them. We have gone to the next level. That is Shaktopaya. We have finished that in chapter 2. Chetasaiva Vichintayan, like Khechari Mudra. So Khecharati, it's not about manipulating our tongue and stuff like that. Yang Samavesam Apnoti Shaktaha So Atra Avidiyate. That we have mentioned earlier. And then what is Shambhava? Sambhava Samavesha Akinchit Chintaka Seva. Akinchit Chintakesha. So it's not about kinchit. You're not thinking about X, Y, Z. It's not about something. It's about that pure self-awareness. Guruna Pratibodhataha. How does that happen? Because of the grace of the Guru. He tells you how to do it. Jayate Yah Samaveshaha Sambhavo Asau Udahitaha. That is what is mentioned as. Now, after this, he will tell us about the pranayama. So we had mentioned, we have been told about dhyana. So, like for example, in Kathopanishad, also there is some tricks about dhyana. So you would say that, you have this whole samsara, and you try to dissolve them in your indriyas through which you connect with them, and dissolve the indriyas, your manas, and dissolve the mind in your self, and sit and meditate. These are meditation techniques, and here they have told you how to sit, and then you think everything is getting dissolved and we are returning to our pure self. There's a clear-cut guidance given here as to how we can do meditation. That's one meditation. The next step will be, we need some help. So the next step also will mention about how to do pranayama properly. That will be the sutra number 5. So I'll stop here and we'll resume. I don't know about Thursday. Most likely again on next Saturday we'll resume our next class, because in between we'll have Dasara and stuff like that. So let's, if you have any questions, one or two, or any questions, any of you? Okay, so we can do the Shanti mantras. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamiva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sri Guru Bhyo Namaha. Hari Om Tat Sat.